All right. Today we're going to be talking about the 11th house in astrology, giving you the full meaning explained. We're going through the significations first, which is essentially just what aspects of life the 11th house represents, because the houses are the concrete existing thing, the areas of your life in the external world that you can touch and feel and experience external to you. Then you have the planets. We're going to go through those. Not all of them, but we're going to focus on the main planet that is the producer, has similar indications to the 11th house, and so will align with the 11th house. We'll also go through the most auspicious or beneficial planet to have in that 11th house, and also the most difficult or inauspicious, challenging planet to have in the 11th house. We're going to go through the 11th Lord, not necessarily every single house, but when it comes to the ruler, the lord of the sign holding the 11th cusp or the 11th sign, we're going to place that lord into a couple different houses so you can kind of get a general understanding of what it's like having the 11th lord in different areas and what happens when you take the 11th lord out of the 11th house and you put it into other areas of your life. And then finally, we're going to be working with the signs, all 12 signs. We're going to place them into the 11th house to see how it colors it, because the houses are the setting. It is, say, the physical foundation, the structure. The signs are the interior design. It is the genre. It is the vibe. It is the energy of each house. Okay? So let's do it. So when it comes to significations, what does the 11th house mean? What does it represent in your life? Well, the main significations are income, money you gain, or resources you gain, because it's mostly signifying the gains, advancement, affluence, the gain of titles and certificates, credentials. It also represents your social networks, organizations, society as a whole, and also your general broader social life. The third house is your social life in the terms of teammates working with other people towards a specific goal. The seventh house is your social life in a more intimate, one-on-one way. Your best friend or your best friends and your partner, your sexual romantic partners or your trade business partners. It's very more insular. 11th is like your social networks like Instagram, Facebook, your general acquaintances, your overall network of people that you can gain affluence, validation from, because also the 11th house is social validation. It's very, very important. It's a social house. It's also your long-term goals, your hopes, your dreams, your aspirations, your long-term desires for your life, the things that you look deep into the future and look for as something that pushes you forward. Okay? And believe that is the main, like I said, organizations, income, long-term goals and then social networks and social organizations, social groups, generally the same thing. And like I said, society as a whole, it aligns with Aquarius, so it has a humanitarian edge to it. Also, social work can be aligned with that as well. So things like social policy or progressing society, these are indications, these are significations of the 11th house. When it comes to the planets, the planet that most aligns with the 11th house has similar indications, is the producer, the Karaka of the 11th house is Jupiter, because Jupiter is all about expansion. It's all about gains. It's all about affluence. It also can be aligned with validation. But the main one is income and gains and ascending too. It's like when you're leveling up, that's the 11th house, is when you get a promotion. Promotions are 11th house. And so Jupiter expands things, it evolves things, it levels up your life. Especially when it's transiting a certain era, it will level you up in some way. It will give you certain blessings in that way. It will expand and give gains. That's why Jupiter is the natural producer, the natural Karaka for the 11th house. It is also the best planet to have in the 11th house. Steve Jobs had Jupiter exalted in the 11th house. And you see when he created Apple, he was able to produce a bunch of technology that supported all the social networks and our social connection through the iPhone. I mean, it revolutionized the world, the way that we interact socially, for better or for worse. Depends on who it is, but generally speaking, the 11th house is aligned with Jupiter, and Jupiter does well in the 11th house. It will lead to fortune and luck in that area, because wherever Jupiter goes, it produces luck, expansion, optimism. Now, this can be negative or positive depending on the dignity and the influences to Jupiter and also your free will, your natural inclinations as a human being. But generally, it has good digbala. It's near the first house where Jupiter is strongest. And so you have more luck, more fortune, more wisdom, more understanding when you're interacting with other people, when you're trying to gain an income, and you're just naturally going to be more fortunate in gaining resources, gaining things. Because it's not just money. That's the main thing, because when it comes to gaining stuff, that's what we desire most is money in our society. They've done a good job brainwashing us. But also certificates, income, resources, social credit scores, right? I mean, it's just general social validation. You're going to have more fortune gaining those things. We go to the 11th Lord. We always start with Aries as we put all the signs in there. And also, almost forgot, because I always do, it's the knees and the shanks, or the calves, is the body part that is represented by the 11th house. So you have Jupiter in the 11th. You might have some big calves. If you have Saturn there, you might have smaller calves. And that actually reminds me as well, I almost skipped ahead. The most difficult planet to have in the 11th house is Saturn, because Saturn restricts things, it brings delays, it brings fears, it can bring trauma. So this can produce certain social anxiety. It can make it more difficult to acquire an income. You might find that there's delays to getting the income, or when it comes to progressing, leveling up, getting promotions, gaining certificates, gaining credentials. It takes longer, it takes more work, it takes more perseverance. Depends on the dignity of Saturn, it depends on the aspects, and also the 11th Lord. This is just a general outline, but has low digbala. Saturn in the 11th can make it difficult for people to move up in the world. Okay? It's not possible, because I'm pretty sure Donald Trump has Saturn in the 11th. He also has some other planets going on there, but he's gotten pretty high, granted, for better or for worse, depends on your opinion. Now, when it comes to the 11th Lord, right? So the ruler, the Lord of the sign holding the 11th cusp, becomes the director. The house is the setting, the foundation, the structure. The sign is the theme, the genre, the vibe, the energy. And then the Lord is the director of that area of your life. And wherever the Lord goes, that Lord will direct the area of the life, the house that it's in, and support it through the significations of the house that it rules. In this case, the 11th house, say, goes into your third house. So that means that your income, your gains, your hopes, dreams, aspirations, or social networks support your ability to achieve your more short-term goals. Short-term goals, long-term goals. Short-term desires, long-term desires. So your long-term goals, your social networks, your peers and friends, and say your credentials and affluence supports fulfilling your short-term desires, supports your interests, your hobbies. There may be a connection in some way. You might get income through your hobbies, through your interests, or your income, you have enough of income to support. You put a lot of income, you put a lot of your gains, you put a lot of your energy into your hobbies, your interests, the things you want to learn, information of that sort. Say you have the 11th in the 8th, the 11th Lord in the 8th house. So your social networks and your hopes, your dreams, your credentials, your affluence supports your intimate life, your sexually intimate life. It supports the resources of your partner because it's other people's money. It can also support deep research. It can also support your social networks can support working through your trauma or healing or trusting other people. Okay? These are just random, or your occult, the study of occult sciences, or working, you have a social network that is of a bunch of witches or a bunch of alchemists, or you have a bunch of astrologer friends. These are things that can be occurring when you have the 11th Lord and the 8th. You are taking your social networks, you are taking your hopes, your dreams, your aspirations, your credentials, your income, your affluence, and you put it in different areas to support the different areas of your life, right? Have it in the first house, you have somebody who's more likely to achieve affluence, to achieve status or social validation because their social networks, their income, their gains, their credentials are supporting the body, they're supporting their public image. Things like that, okay? Pretty straightforward. Now we have Aries. We're going to go through all 12 signs in the 11th house. So When you have Aries conjunct or holding the 11th cusp or the 11th sign in whole sign houses, you have somebody who manifests, because 11th house will tell you how you can manifest your long-term goals, hopes, and dreams. So to manifest your hopes, dreams, goals with Aries as the 11th lord, or not 11th lord, but as thematically coloring the 11th house, you got to take action, pioneer, go pave your own way, face the problems in your life, the fixable problems in your life, putting energy and effort towards the things that are holding you back from achieving those goals. It seems self-explanatory, but you'll see later on that that approach is not the same for every single sign. But if you have Aries, the 11th, yeah, you got to take action. You got to initiate. It's not going to fall in your lap. You got to take action. You got to do it yourself, at least in the beginning. You got a self-starter to move towards your hopes, your dreams, your goals. And when it comes to gaining social validation, because that's also an aspect of the 11th house, to gain social validation, pioneer, be prominent in some way, be first in some way, or follow your vision, fighting for something new, or protecting those weaker than you. I feel like that was a bar. I feel like that rhymed. I don't know, I feel like I was in the flow for a second. But yeah, when it comes to 11th house, we're doing how to manifest your hopes, dreams, goals, and how one will best achieve or most efficiently achieve social validation. Taurus, to achieve and manifest hopes, goals, and dreams, slow and steady wins the race. Being consistent, being steadfast, being practical, not taking too many risks. Aries, yeah, take some risks. Go out on a limb. Be a little dynamic, But Taurus, taking step by step, conscientious, taking a grounded approach, being solid in your approach towards your goals, towards manifesting things. Not necessarily having to start something new, but being able to build upon something that already exists is possible. And to achieve social validation is providing abundance or having aesthetically pleasing or sensorially pleasing things about you, whether it's you can cook really well, or you have good fashion sense, or you're just beautiful in general, or you're able to stimulate people's senses in a comforting way, or you have a soothing voice, things of that nature, things that will stimulate the senses. We have 5 of them, so you have a lot of different options, stimulating the senses in a positive way, or just being a grounded, loyal, reliable friend or person in someone's life. Like, I can rely on them, I can depend on them. Or if I need something, if I need some kind of material resource, I know they have me, they can lend me something. That is Taurus, how to get social validation the most efficiently. Also remember, the same indications with all the series, because this is a whole series. Same indications will happen if you have the 11th Lord in these signs. Okay? So 11th house is filled with these signs, or the 11th Lord is in these signs. They're equally as important. So whenever I say talking about this, if you have, say, the 11th Lord in Gemini, it'll be the same as what I'm about to tell you with the 11th sign or the 11th cusp being conjunct Gemini. Gemini, when it comes to manifesting your hopes, dreams, and goals, taking a varied approach, trial and error, experimenting, not necessarily going down one particular path, a lot different than Taurus. Putting your hat in a bunch of stuff, or putting some different hats. There's some kind of saying that I'm totally forgetting, but spreading your options, diversifying your portfolio. Oh my God, that's a much better term, right? Diversifying your portfolio, not putting all your eggs in one basket. And trying things out, and then eventually over time, you'll start to develop one thing, and then it will lead to manifesting your goals. But experimenting, gaining information, communication, so learning, but through communication and interacting with other people, hearing their ideas, giving their ideas, exchanging of ideas, these things can help you manifest your goals. And this is part of how you can gain social validation, is through communication, is through your skills, is through being interesting or having interesting fun facts or information, being an interesting, stimulating, fun person, how you can get social validation. And I don't care what anybody says. We all want social validation to a certain extent. At least if you're on YouTube. If not, you're a yogi on a mountain someday, and there's no reason why you should be listening to my ass anyway. Cancer. To achieve goals, hopes, dreams, following intuition, following your emotional guidance system, trusting your feelings, and seeing where you're supposed to go by what feels right, what elicits an emotional response. Not always have to be positive, but it's got to elicit, you have to have an emotional investment in the path that you're taking and in the things that are leading you to your hopes, your dreams, your goals. And to gain social validation, affluence, support from your group would involve nurturing, caring, supporting others, providing that nurturing support system to other people, being the caring friend, being the mother in the social group, in the network, or in the organization that you're in, amongst your peers and associates. Leo is the lion, is the king. So when it comes to manifesting your goals, hopes, and dreams, consistency is very key here. Also, being consistent, but also being honorable, meaning being able to trust yourself, because the king needs to be honorable. So when you say you're going to do something, especially to yourself, you follow through. I'm going to do this, X, Y, and Z, following through. If you undermine yourself, you're going to lose trust in yourself, you're going to lose confidence, because confidence is key for a Leo on the 11th cusp to manifest those dreams, hopes, and goals. And the way you gain confidence is not through faking it till you make it. I mean, kind of, you can if you want, but the real way to gain true, solid confidence is saying you're going to do something and then doing it. Taking action. And taking action towards things in a way that leads to success. And once you get those small wins, slowly you gain confidence because it's rooted in real things. You're gaining confidence because it's rooted in actual wins. Not delusion, not self-aggrandizement, but through the baby steps of, okay, I'm going to do this tomorrow. I'm going to check off all these things. And then next one, I'm going to check off all these things. And slowly you start building confidence in yourself, because all that confidence really is trusting yourself to take the actions you need to be taking to get where you want to go. I feel like that was a bar. Could be wrong though. I'm not a rapper. So yeah, consistency, key, gaining confidence through small wins and stacking on top of the other, managing one's life, but being responsible in that way, being the king of your life. And to achieve social validation is taking charge, taking the lead, being able to stand out in a crowd, taking center stage in some way. Okay? So you can gain social validation. I have Leo on my 11th cusp. I'm a Libra rising, so been very true for me. Virgo is someone who will achieve or manifest their goals, hopes, dreams most efficiently if they take an analytical approach, make sure they plan things out, make sure they are organized and conscientious and detail-oriented, not missing the details. The nitty-gritty matters, okay? And when it comes to gaining social validation, social recognition, or affluence, Virgos can develop or refine things. So finding ways that the group can improve or society can improve, but through a more practical approach, through an analytical approach, through a refining process, or finding things that are not working, finding small problems and refining those things, or refurbishing things. That's how Virgo can gain that social validation. Being the practical friend that makes things better by looking at the details, being organized, being reliable in that way, being a good planner. Libra is, you have a social sign and the social house. Libra will manifest goals, hopes, dreams through social interactions, through partnerships, through relationships, and making sure to be fair in those relationships. Kind of like this, I forgot, I think it's not the zero-sum game, but game theory, but taking the game theory approach, but not effing anybody over. Always playing fair, always making sure that everyone leaves happy. That is so important. Using your social abilities, using your natural social grace to gain social validation is also important. But fairness in your social interactions is very important for people who have Sagittarius rising and the Libra in the 11th house, or holding the 11th cusp, or the Lord in Libra. Being fair, playing fair, finding a balance, making sure everybody leaves happy in every interaction, that'll move you towards your goals and also will gain you social validation. And as you'll see, with each sign, there's a universal truth. All of these are true. It's just for some people, they're more true. They're more important than others. But You can take any one of these advices from these signs and gain social validation and achieve your goals, right? But the path will be more efficient, will be more straightforward, and will come out more naturally based off of where the 11th cusp is in Scorpio, or where the 11th house, where the 11th cusp is in the sign. Sorry for the confusion. So we have Scorpio now. Scorpio, you have to manifest hopes, dreams, goals, taking a willful approach, being tenacious, meaning not giving up, holding on. So there is a level of consistency, but not necessarily consistency in action, but more so consistency in attachment, really hanging on to those goals, hopes, dreams, not letting go, being relentless, making sure to pursue things with passion, with fire and intensity, really putting your energy towards it, not half-assing anything, at least when it comes to the long-term goals, the hopes, the dreams you truly desire. So not something you kind of want or want because somebody else wants, no, something that really brings a fire. You have an intense desire, intense hunger, passion for. And how you gain social validation can be through gaining positions of power. And remember, this is social validation, not necessarily, power and validation are two different things, right? Usually they're associated, but someone can be powerful but have a lot of people hate them. There are certain people in power in the world that have power, but they don't have the social validation, right? But gaining positions of power, gaining power, being able to control things, right? Maybe not always the healthiest, but more importantly, being mysterious, being able to elicit intense emotions in other people, and also being able to unearth things that people were unable to see before. So through maybe deep research, through being mysterious, through being magnetic, or having a sexual aura, these can give you social validations as a Scorpio in the 11th, or holding the 11th cusp. Now we have Sagittarius. Sagittarius will manifest goals, hopes, dreams through adventure, learning, understanding, maybe through working with a guru, a teacher, a counselor, or a guide, through being open and optimistic and trusting themselves on the path towards their hopes, dreams, and goals. And to gain social validation for a Sagittarius in the 11th, taking that knowledge, that understanding, the wisdom that they've gained over their many adventures while they're pursuing their goals, hopes, and dreams, and teaching, counseling, sharing their wisdom, knowledge with other people. And also being a good vibe, being optimistic and helping other people achieve their goals, helping others point their arrow like a true Sagittarius would do for themselves. That's how you gain social validation with Sagittarius. Like I said, as you see, there's a universal truth. Everyone can use one of these paths to achieve social validation or to manifest their goals, but some take to some better than others. Capricorn will have, when it comes to manifesting their hopes, dreams, and goals, take a more traditional, disciplined, structured approach. Perhaps take the more beaten path. Aries might take the non-beaten path, right? Capricorn will look back to the past to see what has been done before to achieve that same hope, that dream, that goal, and will follow that recipe, usually to the letter, doing it as efficiently, traditionally, and hardworkingly, industriously as possible. And to gain social validation, these people will usually look to be in positions of authority, look to gain success, look to gain prominence in some way, and also being able to fix the problems of the collective and the people around them. The problem solver of their social network. Aquarius, to achieve and manifest hopes, dreams, and goals, will usually use their intellect, their powerful intellect, will use progressive thinking, will analyze their psychology to see if there's any psychological or internal blocks that are holding them back from manifesting, and also understanding fundamentally what is valuable to people. Because you need people to achieve your goals, so they might work with an organization, because you have the 11th house holding the natural 11th sign. And so utilizing organizations, utilizing social networks, finding out what people value to move you towards your goals, your dreams. It's also how you gain social validation, is knowing what people want and being able to give it to them, forwardly supporting them in achieving that. And also through social validation, gaining that through an Aquarius with the 11th, being innovative and being progressive, being forward thinking, and having a humanitarian edge to them, meaning caring about the collective, caring about what other people want and being able to fit into the organization, into the social network, into the collective seamlessly. Leo stands out. Aries is more individualistic. Taurus is stable. Gemini is interesting. Cancer is caring and supportive in their social networks. Like I said, Leo's prominent, tries to lead. Virgo is that practical and intelligent, let's say, organizer, planner of the social network. Libra is the diplomat, harmonious, graceful, aesthetically pleasing aspect of the social network. Scorpio is that intense, deep, mysterious, maybe dark researcher, dark magician type energy of the social network. Sagittarius is the optimistic, goal-oriented, wise, guru, spiritual guide kind of person in the social networks or organizations. Capricorn is that traditional, more straightforward, consistent, and reliable, hardworking aspect of the social network. And Aquarius is the innovator, is the unique intellectual, able to understand people's psychology and being able to fit seamlessly into the whole, not ruffling any feathers, having a level of humility, and gaining social validation just through being a humble, intelligent, progressive thinker who cares about the collective more so than they care about themselves. Finally, Pisces is like the mystic. Achieving, manifesting goals is through surrender, through letting go, through giving it up to God, through giving it up to a higher power, to trusting the universe, however you want to describe it, trusting the odds or the archetypes, the collective unconscious, however you want to refine it. Pisces is all about letting go and surrendering to something higher to manifest the goals, hopes, and dreams. Trusting God, maybe even praying or asking a higher power. And when it comes to gaining social validation or their place within the social organization, network, or collective society, they play the role of, let's say, artist and healer and intuitive, able to help people connect, their group connect to something higher, and bringing a very open and compassionate vibe, having a charitable vibe, being that person where people trust within that group, who holds compassion, who holds understanding, and who is non-judgmental. That's how one with Pisces in the 11th would gain social validation and play a pivotal role within the collective, within society, within a social network. That was the 11th house. Meaning explained. Thank you for your time. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask me down below. Also, if it resonated with you, I'd love to hear your inputs or your stories, because it always warms my heart to hear about you guys and to see how this series is resonating with people that are watching. And in the next video, we're going to go through the final house, the 12th house. It's next video as we do this series and we finish it up. Thank you for your time. Cheers.